Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to today's podcast, which was unplanned and basically impromptu because of I was saying one of our guests because of Amartya's hatred of a movie, which we decided to actually turn into a live stream, which we want to sort of venture into, but Dubai sort of and UAE stopped me from doing so. So sorry that we couldn't communicate that in that way because it would have saved us time also because I still won't edit this much, but anyways, like our
Yeah,
idea.
I don't think I wanted this to be a quote unquote episode either. It's like
Yeah.
this is like both a waste of both of our times. But okay, since we like hanging out together, cool man.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's more or less like a hangout session, but like for that purposes also we've done a short Q&A. I think by short I mean we only got 4 questions, so we are going to discuss all
That is
and
also lucky.
three
That
of
is
them
also lucky.
yes, and three of them tie into the films. Film is Sujoy Ghosh's Jaane Jaan. Netflix, it's on Netflix, so Amartya will tell
We
you
are
not
very
to watch
generous
it.
in we are very generous
uh
in calling it a film, but okay.
it is a film, man, like come on, there are worse examples of
No,
non-film.
it is not a film. It is a. I'll get to it. It is not a
Okay,
film.
fine. Anyway, the discussion we'll get to later. First, we'll discuss we'll be talking about the cues we got and answer them, hopefully in ways which are productive. Well, only one of them is the one which we can talk about separately first, and then the other three directly lead into
Yes.
Jana's discussion in any case. So the one question that was a great question asked by Ahindrla. So thank you, Ahindrla, who's been our guest before also. She asked, does it bother you, by you, I mean, whatever our quid, I suppose, when other film critics around you do not react outrageously to a film as you did? So essentially, if so, let's take an example of say Spencer. We've done an episode on Spencer.
Do we have
Uh,
to?
I mean, okay, fine. You can take an example. I don't know what example because that's such a divergent thing, right? That's what I'm saying. Like I'm taking that as an example because suppose Amartya really liked it and I didn't respond to it.
Suppose nahi. I really liked it. You
No,
didn't
no, yes,
respond to
sorry.
it. That's
Amartya
not a
really liked it.
supposition.
Amartya really likes it. I didn't like it. So it's the idea of, does it bother you when film critics, I suppose, don't react or react outrageously to something that you probably don't connect to? This has happened to me recently, but I'll first ask Amartya on what he thinks about this because you two were angry today also about a potentially someone really liking Jaane Jaan. So yeah.
Yes. I think I think the anger rises from, and I think that's the magic of any media in a way, because any media is bound to hit you differently. And
Yeah.
as you watch more and more movies, context for any and all movie grows more and more, and
Hmm.
it shapes your views and how you understand your likes, your dislikes, and everything. So
Yep.
we can be, nowadays it's not a day of diplomacy, right?
Hmm.
Diplomacy is a failed concept at this point.
Yep.
Everybody wants to put everything in black and white. So
Yep.
it's like everybody shouting out an opinion is much more cooler than being diplomatic. So you
Yep.
can always say that, I completely get your criticism, I completely understand. You can say that I completely get your
Hmm.
criticism, I completely understand. But when you really find yourself in the minority on a supposed case, you
Hmm.
know it hits you on a couple of levels, because you sometimes get a bit of self-doubt.
This is professional critics, not
This
general
is
public.
professional.
Yeah.
Listen, general public वैसे भी हो, I'm not going to diss general public anyway.
Yeah.
General public वैसे भी हो, general public watches movies in a different.
Of course. Yeah.
When we are watching movies and we are looking towards critical appreciation of people who are professionals in their field,
Hmm.
when we look at them and when we see that they are not agreeing with us at all,
Yeah.
like things we liked they did not like at all,
Yeah.
and then you see that the people who you follow or the people who you usually agree with, they are also not agreeing with.
Yeah.
So sometimes it feels like, that okay, and because this is a generation or this is a world where everything should be of a hive mind, or there is
Yeah.
always a risk of a FOMO or all of that stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
it bothers me sometimes, very
Mm-hmm.
less, because
Example? Can you give an example? Just throw it. Because I have a very recent example. So then not Jaane Jaan, apart from Jaane Jaan,
uh, apart from Jaane Jaan, I think there is a Kannada movie which is out called Hostel Hurudugare.
which you
I'm
really
going.
like, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm going to butcher that name. So
Yeah.
let me just read the name out, because I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to butcher that name. I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
Hostel Hudugaru Bekagidare. So
Okay.
this is a 2023 movie directed by Nitin Krishnamurthy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you see this movie, most of the reviews of this movie is either a 3 star or a 2.5 or a 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
I loved this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I Now that could be a lot of reasons. My mindset during the current time when I watched that movie, or
Mm-hmm.
I just love a debutant filmmaker just going full bonkers, not even caring about what people think.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Yeah.
using all of his inspirations and everything, and he's shifting genres every second.
Mm-hmm.
And it's rare for me to watch a college dorm comedy movie and all of the jokes are landing.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
It is very rare. So
Mm-hmm.
I love this movie to pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I know somebody who hates this movie,
Mm-hmm.
but he doesn't hate it because it didn't, because of any other reason. He doesn't hate it because it didn't work for him.
Mm-hmm. As in
So
subjectively, sort of like that.
subjectively, it doesn't work. It didn't work for him at all.
Amartya, but if the subjective, I think at least I can speak for myself. If the subjective thing comes into play, I'm much less likely to be bothered
Yeah,
as
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
guessing, right? Like, so yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think when it comes to sort of subjectivity and this idea that, I mean, maybe because it's a comedy, especially, and because it's horror, those are two extremely subjective genres in
It
any case, right?
also,
So,
yeah, and it's also because the genres, right?
hmm,
Comedy and horror are so subjective genres. One
hmm,
movie you don't like, other people are going to love.
yeah,
Like the recent horror movie which I just watched, like No One Will Save You. That's the horror movie.
yes,
I do not like the movie at all.
yeah,
The more I think about it, the more I think the movie is a train.
hmm,
That movie is critically acclaimed.
hmm,
Critically acclaimed. It's like people are saying that that movie is like a triumph.
okay.
And I watched that movie and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? What are
So
you
it
guys
just feel
talking about?
so it's more like feeling but alienated, suppose, or whatever, like
Yeah, and
feeling.
and if
Hmm.
people are asking that whether it bothers me, it bothers me. But nowadays, it's like if it bothers me, it's always a question about what are you going to do about it.
Hmm.
If it bothers you, can you articulate enough as to why you think a movie affects you differently than the other? That is always my question every single time. That is the one question I have,
Yeah.
because that is the one thing I believe that separates me from any general public who goes into a theater, comes out of the theater, and just when people are asking while munching on the last of their popcorn, hey, movie kaisi lagi? Hey,
Yeah.
acha tha. Hey,
Hmm.
bakwas tha.
Yeah.
That's not
Beyond that. Beyond
beyond
that.
that. For that, you need
क्या
to
अच्छा था,
articulate.
क्या बुरा था,
Yeah,
वो
yeah, yeah,
कैसे अच्छा था, कैसे बुरा था, like how,
yeah.
why,
For that,
other, I think.
for that, you
Yeah.
need a way to, you know, voice out your thoughts, voice out your appreciation, and present it in a cogent manner. That's all you can do.
Hmm.
Really, that's really all you can do. So you can be
Yeah.
bothered, but it's always the question about whether you can voice your botheration. Can you
Hmm.
voice it effectively enough? If you can voice it effectively enough, I think you can be in peace with
Hmm.
your own realization. Because
Hmm.
I have genuinely thought that unless you rewatch a movie, say years later,
Yeah.
I don't think you should get back or walk back your thoughts simply because other people like it or
Of
something.
course. Oh, please don't do that. Like for
Please don't do that.
anyone,
Please
I
don't
think
do that.
that's a big
I'm going to
learning
say this.
only.
Yeah, I'm going to say this outright right now, and I know for a fact that people are going to think that I'm effing crazy.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't like In the Mood for Love. I
Huh.
don't.
Hmm.
I think Christopher Doyle shoots that movie gorgeously, but I
Hmm.
don't connect with the movie at all.
Hmm.
I have said it when the first time I have seen it. I'm going to
Yeah.
say it now even. I haven't
Yeah.
rewatched the movie in 10 years, so
Yeah.
maybe when I rewatch it, maybe
Hmm.
my thoughts will be different. But until then, that's my thought, and I'm going
Of
to stick
course.
with it.
Yeah, as you
That's
should, I feel. I mean, that's absolutely no issues. I mean, that's just like
And if we
personal
are
thing
going to be,
also, right?
yeah, and if we are going to be funny about it, I think Dhruv is the one who has been facing this the most, because most of the time, populist movies which we like, you don't like. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I've been facing it more recently, I feel, more than
yeah,
anything
yeah,
else.
I know, right?
But no, but I was not thinking about Jawan and Pathan. I think those two I've already sort of made peace with, and the fact that,
Yeah,
okay, that's not my jam, in the sense that I don't really like that sort of going back to, that's not my going back to basics. My basics are different, I suppose, to what the
your
basics people are sort
basics,
of.
my basics are like commercial portfolio. Your basics are like commercial melodrama,
Yeah, essentially. So I think
essentially.
it's a different sort of, going into different. So I'm more or less, I'm not bothered by, people. Well, I am a little bothered by people liking Jawan, just because I think the editing is a bit kind of, I just think it's fundamentally a bit bad, but okay, fine, whatever.
No, no,
I've
it
made
is
more.
fun. It is fundamentally, it is slightly bad, especially when you consider the industry from where the editor and the director comes from. There
Mhm.
are people working within that industry who make movies
Exactly.
like commercial potboilers, where the editing is not like this.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that is for me a little bit whatever, fine, okay. But I think what I'm bothered by is generally, the stance at which you're judging the film sometimes.
Exactly.
So I think it's more just like, for me, I try and sort of judge a film mostly through what I'm seeing as a text. Like, I understand context is important, but I feel nowadays it's given too much importance,
It's given too much
uh,
importance.
almost more than the text, and that's my issue. But the recent film, I had an issue, like, I genuinely did feel bothered by everyone's praise, is because I felt totally out of step with a lot of people who I also like follow, is Past Lives by Celine Song.
Ah,
I
okay.
was just, I like, when I watched it, I was like, I don't get what people are liking about this, right? Because I was like,
Hmm.
I just didn't connect with it on any level. So I was
Hmm.
like, are people so like, first, I'm not now, at least I have reached a stage where I can be very honest about what I felt. Earlier I used to like self-doubt and be like, okay, let me try, and I think this is like
Hmm.
way back, not recently, but like way
Like, you
back. I
saw that movie back in the festival, right? You saw that movie before all of us, right?
What,
Did you
Celine
see that?
Song's Past Lives?
Yeah,
No, no,
past
no.
life.
I saw it later only. No, no, that I
Oh,
didn't
okay,
see
okay.
in I didn't see in a festival. No, no, no. No, no, I saw it, Abhi, and I was just like, I didn't click, but I have to be honest about not clicking with it, right? And then I was like,
Exactly.
okay, if we are going to do an episode on it, I will have to rewatch it, because I will have to make a note of what all, like, I have a basic idea of what
Hmm.
all I didn't click with. Like, I basically didn't click with the central love story, which I think a lot of people
Hmm.
really related to and everything. I thought they were ciphers. I thought they were characters who weren't allowed or given enough time to, like, I
Hmm.
didn't feel their romance. I wanted to know their thing a bit more. Like, I didn't want them to zoom
You
past
know the
the montage
interesting,
of it all,
you know
like
the
their
interesting
conversation.
bit is the interesting bit is the fact that you are saying that they are ciphers. I think that was the intention,
I
because
suppose so then.
yeah, I think that was the intention, because I'm going to be honest with you. I connected with the movie. I connected the more with the first half of the movie. The
Yeah,
second half I did not connect that much. Second half I connected with when the husband and the wife are talking, and the husband has a lovely monologue. That
yeah,
monologue is beautiful.
yeah.
But that first half I connected with a lot,
So
because
I,
that,
so
yeah,
no, go ahead.
and
Sorry,
I
go
think primary
ahead.
one of the reasons is because those characters are allowed to be ciphers. I think because the audience is supposed to surrogately feel for. Now, is it a good practice of a film that you're making it a cipher and then you're filling it with stuff and you're thinking that you can pass it on? I mean, that's how you're telling a story and that's how you're making it, I suppose.
Yeah,
At
no,
the
I get. I think I
at the end
get
of the day,
that,
it's
but
like, yeah, at the end of the day, it's like you only say that, every time. You can judge a movie and all, but when you're emotionally connected to a
of
movie, I
course,
think judging a movie always,
yeah, yeah.
connection movie
If
always
it
triumphs.
if it has an emotional connection, then of course I can't. But I feel
Yeah.
I'm talking more from even like a formal point of view. I thought it was weak for me.
Hmm.
Like, I
Hmm.
thought like some of the directorial choices were weak, and
Yeah,
again, I'm noticing those more because I'm not connecting. So that's another
exactly.
sort of, it's.
That's
But
another thing.
yeah,
That's
yeah. So
another
I
thing.
mean, it's just like it's like a domino effect, right? Like, if you don't
Hmm.
connect with something, you'll start noticing things that
Yeah,
probably are
if
not
a
making you
film
connect with
doesn't
it.
if a film doesn't engage you, you're more likely to point out flaws.
Yeah.
That's that's how it is. That's
But
literally how it is.
yeah, but I didn't directly answer Andrela's question. I think it is good that you are a little bothered. I think it's good to be a little
Yeah, it's
bothered.
good to
If
be a
you
little bothered.
not being like overly consumed by it, but I think it's good to be bothered just because it helps you develop your own like
It's
process
good
of
to be
thinking.
bothered. It's
I
good to
think.
be bothered, but it's good to not be consumed by it. Ask the question as to why it is bothering you
Yep.
and what is different about you that is bothering you. That you are not
Hmm.
connecting with them. So
Yep.
why?
Hmm.
It becomes a sort of a central question to you.
I
You know
mean,
that
if someone wants an example, you can see our personal chats, which are an example of continuous disagreements. I feel about a
yes,
lot of movies, which I think
yes,
is productive. I don't think it's a bad thing ever. Actually,
yes.
having diverse opinions, but
Yes, having diverse. Yeah, I know sometimes giving explanations all the time to why you love a movie is extremely tiring up to a point.
yeah,
But again, it's like sticking to a stand is always good, right? Even
of
if it
course.
bothers you, it's always good to be sticking to a stand because that's what you have to be. But that's my only point. There is a difference between being sticking to a stand and sticking to a stand because you're a fanatic and not
Yes, of
not
course.
bothering to explain it.
Hmm. Yes, yes.
That I don't
The
like.
yeah, no, that is garbage. I feel like that if you're gonna do it, then you do it in a way which is productive. Like you have to firstly listen to other people's opinions, thoughts, etc., and then sort of make your judgment,
Yeah,
whatever, make a
like you
counter,
just
make whatever. Yeah.
yeah, like you just make a post like blah blah blah. This movie, which is the most populist movie, I don't
Hmm.
like this movie at all. I don't like this movie at all. This is one of the most pretentious pieces of garbage I've seen. You
Why?
post that on your social media and you walk away.
That's the sort of thing I think which will bother any fan of the
That will
film
bother any fan.
because they're like, but why is it garbage? Why is it
Yeah,
pretentious? What is
yeah,
bad about it? Answer
yeah.
those questions, right?
Answer those
So,
questions because people will, of course, ask. That's the whole
hmm.
point of social
I mean,
media,
why will
good,
you
bad, or
post it
whatever.
otherwise, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
because you wanted
yeah.
attention. You wanted attention.
And if you're wanting attention, then make sure to
Make sure
like
to
build
be
upon it, I
open about it
suppose.
and yeah,
Hmm.
make sure to be open about it and get all the attention you need because you are going to get it anyway.
Yeah, and it's totally fine to have like adverse opinions. There's no problem with it. But I do think one of the things maybe that eventually that does come to bother me. And we kind of discussed this. It's like a lot of times people aren't judging films; they're judging receptions of films. So it's like,
Yes,
that is the issue sometimes that happens. Like again, I probably watched Past Lives at the wrong moment in time also,
exactly.
right? Because it was so hyped up. I was like, okay, I'm going in, and I was
I had the
expecting
same
some,
I had the
yeah.
same problem with No One Will Save You. It was so hyped up.
Hmm.
I'm like, wow, okay,
Hmm.
independent movie getting so much hype.
Hmm.
Let's watch it. And then I'm like,
What is this? Yeah.
what
So I
is
think
this?
it's yeah, but it's impossible now not be be totally detached from the hype, of course. Like that's just not
Yeah,
possible.
and
So
especially considering the line of work in which both of us are in, and to a certain degree, most of our friends or the people
hmm,
who guest in our channel are in.
yeah.
The line of work in which we both of us are in, it's like
Hmm,
you can't be detached. So the
hmm,
least you can do is, you know, ensure that the information you are getting in, you have a, bifurcation.
of
You can
course.
take as much information as you need, but then when you are going to watch the movie, go in it with a blank slate.
Hmm. Yeah,
Saying that
is
and
easier.
saying
Hmm.
that is easier than doing it a lot, as my
Hmm.
viewing of Jaane Jaan will attest to anyway, because
Should we transition? I think that was a good discussion before this, just to now deep dive uh
yes,
into a film which I would like to say from the outset I don't dislike, but I just don't care about
yes,
much, and Amartya cares about it enough to really want to rant about it. Let's be very clear about it. So I think
yes.
in a perverse sort of way, Janeja is a more effective film for Amartya than it is for me, considering it's had a I think
And
stronger
Janeja is
negative
also
reaction.
and Janeja is also a prime example for Ahendila's question because it is a social experiment and in which the sample is this. So thanks.
But I also think it's interesting just from a point of view of how two people will look at it differently because of the different knowledges they bring into the film. I feel right
But
because
yeah, but
I
again,
mean
like
to some
to
extent,
some
yes,
extent, and
yeah,
again, like like I was saying before we started recording,
Yeah.
I also wanted to bring in an example of that
Hmm.
just so that I can make my stance clearer. And
Hmm.
I honestly think that because our discussion has been postponing for a couple of days, I think my
Yes.
anger has simmered down from a boiling point to a manageable.
Hmm.
Because now I can think things a tad bit more clearly. It doesn't mean that my thoughts have changed.
Yeah.
If anything, my thoughts have
It'll be
become clearer.
strengthened only, because you found
Yeah,
more like supporting evidence for it.
yeah.
But
If
just
any,
to
yeah.
just before we start, so the three questions came from one handle only, which is this underscore is underscore.
This is Mikael B basically
This is
underscore.
Michael B with underscores
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah, yeah.
But these three questions are essentially related to adaptations and specifically Jaane Jaan. So I think we'll kind of center our discussion of the film around these only. I think that's a
Yes.
better way of sort of talking about it, and it's all spoilers and everything. And it's one of those films, I suppose, which sort of lives and dies by the mystery of what is like what something has happened or whatever. Like Amartya is tilting his head to the right, so that's the only direction I can tell you, which I don't know what that indicates about what he's thinking. But anyways, we will. The first question I'll ask is, which will help us sort of structure our discussion about Jaane Jaan is why do that's the question asked by this is McAlby. Why do they, I suppose they means Bollywood or Indian
Yeah.
film industry, why do they have to keep making unnecessary adaptations which completely misses the point of bracket of the original? Yes. This kind of leads into very well just the basis of Jaane Jaan, I suppose, because I'm not aware. I knew that it was adapted, but I am not aware of the adaptation from which it is adapted, and it's also
Mhm.
made into a South Korean film, right?
It's made into
Uh,
a South Korean film. It's made into a Japanese film.
okay,
It's made into a Chinese film.
sure, okay. So it's
These
a
are
very
the
popular,
and
yeah,
it's made into a South Indian film, direct adaptation
okay,
into a South Indian film called Kodai Galan, which came out in 2019.
sure,
Uh,
okay.
these are the quote unquote official adaptations.
Hmm.
The unofficial adaptations you all have heard of, they are called Drishyam.
Yes,
So
yeah.
yes,
So so the novel in question is The Devotion of Suspect X. It's written by, you can
Keigo
pronounce the name.
Higashino,
Yes,
Keigo Higashino, yes.
Keigo, yes, and yeah. So I think that's the sort of basis of the adaptation question. But like, why do you think it's unnecessary, and why does it miss the point, Amartya? What is the point of the novel? And actually, this might lead to a bigger discussion. But like, I just want to ask the question: is there? My question with adaptation is always why. What do you mean by misses the point? Like there is not like a solid point of an adaptation, right? Like it's like a novel can have different interpretations from everyone who reads it. So like, what does
Depends
it
on the
mean
novel.
to?
Depends on the novel too, right? Because
Okay.
if a novel chooses to be open-ended, chooses to be
Hmm.
ambiguous, chooses to be more, more abstract in nature,
Hmm.
that can provide different interpretations.
Hmm.
But when a novel, you know, kind of lives and dies by its twists and
Hmm.
resolutions,
Hmm.
especially in say a thriller genre or whatever the
Hmm.
genre it is, then I suppose the novel kind of has a point.
Hmm.
Saying that though, it's like
Hmm.
the question that does arise is I think the bigger question is the necessity of an adaptation to exist. Honestly speaking, I
Hmm.
don't know whether there is any necessity for any adaptations to exist other than the very simple answer, which is money. Money
Yeah, and
needs to
ease. Ease.
money and ease.
Yeah.
Everything is an IP nowadays.
Yeah.
Everything is an intellectual property. You need to understand every place where filmmaking is done, filmmaking or storytelling is done, they are all creatively bankrupt. They're looking for sources.
Yes.
So they need properties to derive their basic skeleton from, and
Yes.
from there they will make movies. That's
I
all
mean,
it is.
yeah, that's true. And I think people are allowed to deviate from it, but then it's also the
Of course,
question of
people are
how are
allowed
you
to.
deviating?
Yeah,
Like,
of
what
course,
point are
people
you
are
making by
allowed.
deviating,
Yeah,
right?
of
Yeah.
course, people are allowed to deviate from it because
Hmm.
that's the whole point of an adaptation. The
Hmm.
question comes that there is also a question all the time which happens like if you're making a faithful adaptation, then what is the point other than just transplanting everything in a different
You're just
medium.
like
What is the
like copy pasting essentially, which is like,
you are copy
wow.
pasting everything, and then
Hmm.
why?
Mhm.
That's a logical question.
Hmm.
And we have got evidences to support that faithful adaptations need not necessarily need to exist, or maybe it shouldn't exist because there is no point.
Mhm.
But then again, there are some pieces of literature, like say Alan Moore's graphic novel Watchmen
Mhm.
or Neil Gaiman's Sandman.
Mhm.
For a long time, these pieces of literature have been thought to be unadaptable
Mhm.
because they deal with so many heady ideas, so many heady concepts,
Mhm.
that even taking all of this and supposing them into a different medium like film
Mhm.
takes a lot of work.
Of course, yes.
And,
Mhm.
and it is very, very, very hard to do. And
Gatsby is also supposed to be
Gatsby is also supposed to be extremely, yeah.
Mhm.
So I can understand why. And sometimes, which is why when somebody is adapting it, the question comes, who is adapting it? That is
Yes.
always a very important question.
Hmm.
Why? Because at the end of the day, watching every adaptation is like taking a coin toss. Either you will give
Yeah.
it a chance or you won't give it a chance.
Yeah. This is
Filmmaker like
like this is like Anton Chigurh, right? In
yeah,
No
yeah, yeah.
Country for Old Men. Yes, okay.
Which again was an adaptation. Just
A brilliant adaptation, by the way.
brilliant
So
adaptation. Yeah.
yeah.
So filmmaker like Francis Ford Coppola, who adapted The Godfather,
Yeah.
he took the book as a Bible.
Hmm.
The screenwriter was involved in the writing of the movie. The author was involved in the
Yep.
writing of the movie, and he took the book as the Bible. So it all depends on who is adapting the story.
Hmm.
Because once you give it to somebody else, once you hand the adaptation over to somebody else, you're
Yep.
automatically handing over that
Of course.
responsibility to somebody else. And it's like
Yes.
now it's all in their hands.
Hmm.
Now, how they are choosing to put it. And that's where the necessity and the unnecessity of it comes in, because that's where having a
Yep.
point or missing the point or making a separate point from the book,
Yep.
those are the three options that come.
That's The
So
Shining, essentially, right?
that's the Shining essentially.
Hmm.
Because if people haven't seen The Shining, first of all, please do see The Shining.
Hmm.
Secondly,
Please see it before room number 237.
yes, please, for the
Yes.
love of God, please, yeah.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, talk about conspiracy theory nonsense. And so the thing about The Shining is The Shining, the movie.
Hmm.
What Stephen King, the author, took The Shining as an allegory for was his own battle with alcoholism.
Hmm.
That's what The Shining essentially was, the book.
Yep. Hmm.
Okay. And how much his alcoholism was affecting his family, and
Hmm.
how going into a hotel and trying to, ward off the forces of evil there
Hmm.
was essentially him trying to wrestle himself from writer's block.
Right. Hmm.
That's what he was.
Hmm.
That's what essentially it was. What Kubrick did, this is such a prime example of a director completely
Yep.
taking away the point of the novel. Because
Hmm.
because in the book, the Jack Torrance character, this is spoilers by the way. I'm so
Yep.
sorry for spoiling The Shining, but just saying, it's
It's
like,
a
yeah,
35-year-old movie. It's fine. No, yeah, I think it should be okay.
no, because
Yeah.
spoiler culture and everything is sacred nowadays. So it's
I
like,
know.
fine, let's put a disclaimer there.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
Jack Torrance's character was an alcoholic, but the Jack Torrance character was ultimately a very decent man.
Yeah.
He was always a decent man.
Hmm.
Kubrick essentially made him into a sinister man from the beginning.
Hmm.
He
Yeah.
completely changes the motivation of the novel from the beginning itself. It
Yeah.
was never about alcoholism. It was about the hotel. The
Hmm.
hotel being a place of evil, and it somehow just amplified the own evilness of Jack Torrance. That's
Yes.
literally what it did.
And if you want to read more into it, there is lots to read more into
There
it,
are lots to
apparently.
it. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
There are lots to it. But
Hmm.
that's one of the fundamental differences.
Yes. Hmm.
So people who have seen the movie, they will exactly have the same visceral reaction I had while watching Jaane Jaan, because it was like, you're missing the point.
Hmm.
You missed the point. And when you ask Kubrick will be like, yeah, so what?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
if you ask Stephen King still hates The Shining. So
Yeah.
much so that he tried to remake The Shining into his own mini series. Did not work. But
Yes. He'll probably like Doctor Sleep, though, right? by Flanagan, because
But
Flanagan's a pretty faithful, but that's a different book. Yeah.
that's a different book, and Flanagan also, like, Flanagan is like, one of those fans, like
Mm.
Dave Filoni of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Flanagan is one of those madcap fans. He's like, I
Mm-hmm.
love the movie and I love the book. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I know I'm going to reconcile both the movie and the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm going to adapt Doctor Sleep. I'm going to make Doctor Sleep a sequel of the book.
Mm.
But I'm also going to make Doctor Sleep a sequel of the movie.
The show. Mm-hmm.
And you know what? That movie works.
For you, yes.
For me, it works. I don't know whether it works for you. That movie works for me. Because
Doesn't,
it's like,
but
because it's like the last 10 minutes of Doctor Sleep is like nirvana for people who love The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly. And it's, I mean, the sheer guts of a filmmaker to actually do that.
Maybe we'll discuss The Shining and Doctor Sleep in Halloween month. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But
again, I'll sit out for that one, considering I don't care for either. But yes.
Yeah. Again, my point being, this is not a Doctor Sleep discussion or anything. But
of course.
This is again the adaptation discussion of me having a visceral reaction towards any movie which completely misses the point of the adaptation.
Yeah.
But then, if you think about it logically, I still gave a chance to that adaptation. Do you know why? Because it is Stanley motherfucking Kubrick.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I understand that. I understand what you're getting at also. Yeah.
It is Stanley Kubrick. I'm going to give that guy a chance because he has never failed me yet as an audience.
Yeah.
And I see that movie and I'm like, I feel you, Stephen King. I really do. But I like the movie too.
Yeah.
So I am going to live with the fact that I like the book and I like the movie, and the movie is not a faithful adaptation of the book. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's the same treatment I took when I was reviewing Jaane Jaan, because I was like, I'm going to review it as an isolated piece of filmmaking and then as an adaptation. Because if I choose to let one thing overwhelm the other, that's me not being fair. It was very easy for me because the filmmaking is garbage.
Okay. So this is completely unnecessary adaptation, essentially. Jaane Jaan, right?
This is an absolutely unnecessary adaptation of a filmmaker completely missing the point of it.
And also not doing anything apart from it which like has any value.
No, he has done a lot. Let's put this out very clear. He has done a lot in the movie. He has done a lot. I'm going to go into it piece by piece what he has done. But he has done a lot.
Let's go into it piece by piece. No, then. Let's go.
He has done a lot. The question is whether he has done any of it coherently, any of it very well. My answer is no.
No. Okay. Yeah. So what all has he done, Amartya? Because I am unaware of the novel, so treat me as like whatever.
Okay, so I'm going to just explain the novel just a tad bit briefly, because it is important to understand what the novel is about. Because a lot of people are liking the movie and they haven't read the novel, and I completely respect their opinions. I really do. But I need to carefully make people understand why I don't like the movie at all. What I think the movie's point, what I think the book's point actually was. And this is why the film companion interview with Sujoy Ghosh really pissed me off. Because in the interview, he said he read The Devotion of Suspect X, and when he was reading it, he was like, "Arey, thriller kidhar hai? This is a love story." So when he finished the book,
it's a okay.
This is a love story. So when he finished the book, he's like, "Oh, this is a love story." My point is, you got that part right. It is a love story. Then how did you miss it while making into the film? How did that not come across in the film? That is my whole point. And
this is a love story between the neighbor and our main character, you mean?
Yes, and that is the problem, because the book is not a love story about the neighbor and the suspect. It is not.
Okay.
The book is about friendship, believe it or not.
Sure. Okay.
And the book is about a platonic love towards an individual.
Yes.
Okay, so let me get this straight out of the way. So, the divorcee character,
played by Kareena Kapoor?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the novel or novel?
I'm talking about the novel. Okay.
Sure. Okay.
So the divorcee character, because I don't exactly remember the Japanese name right now, so I'm just taking out the archetypes and just putting it. So the divorcee character works in a sandwich shop. Okay.
Yes.
She's a server there, and every day she is being visited by this professor.
Mhm.
Okay, professor's name is Ishigami.
Uh-huh.
So he is the neighbor of that
Yep.
flat where she stays in. Now, one day she is being visited by her ex-husband,
Mm.
and the ex-husband is an abusive person who
Mm.
tries to blackmail her or asks her for money. She
Mm.
refuses, and then he threatens by saying that this is his daughter. He is
Mm.
going to visit this daughter, and the mom snaps.
Mhm.
That's what she does.
Mm.
The daughter thinks that the mom is being threatened, and the daughter attacks him.
Yep.
And then the murder happens almost verbatim, exactly as it happens in the movie. They take
Okay.
a heating cord and they try to choke him out.
Mhm.
And the daughter holds the hands while the mother chokes the guy.
Yep.
And the professor hears this, and the professor
Yes.
deduces
Mhm. He's a
that a murder.
mathematician in the novel
He's a
also.
mathematician in the high school
Okay.
mathematician.
Mhm.
That's not the difference. The
Mhm.
thing is that he gets it and he decides that he wants to help them.
Mhm.
The difference comes now. The difference is
Mhm.
that there is an investigator named Kusanagi. Kusanagi
Mm.
investigates this investigation, but Kusanagi is a normal investigator. He is
Mhm.
like, I know the suspect. The
Mhm.
suspect is the wife, because that is
Yep.
the typical answer which we all get. Like
Mhm.
when a husband dies, the suspect is the wife most of the time. When a
Mhm.
husband is murdered.
Yep.
But the woman has a very strong alibi. I can't
Mhm.
break the woman's alibi,
Yep.
but somebody has done it.
Mhm.
And the husband's body is found to be charred and completely destroyed outside a
Mhm.
baseball field.
Mhm.
And the woman was thought to be in a theater with her
Mhm.
daughter. They
Mhm.
have the tickets to prove it.
Mhm.
So I don't have an explanation.
Mhm.
You okay with me so far? Because these are
Yes.
all the
Yes.
same, more or
Yeah.
less.
Yeah. It's the same thing.
All,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
here's where the mindfuck gets. So this is what happens.
Yeah.
The investigator goes
Mhm.
to Tokyo University to meet his best friend, a
Mhm.
physics professor named Manobu Yukawa.
Mhm.
Manobu Yukawa is a consultant detective who helps these police investigators on occasion,
Mhm.
because he is interested in cases which are very, 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 very complicated. And he
Sure.
tries to help them only because he's interested in the case. He is not emotionally invested.
Mhm.
This is very clear. He is not emotionally invested.
Mhm.
So when he hears about this case, the only reason why he is even remotely interested in the case is, number one, because the alibi is so strong. Number two, the
Mhm.
woman said the alibi. So he's like, the woman is saying so much stuff. The woman is showing you so much evidence. Either she is one of the most, you know, diligent women alive,
Mhm.
or somebody else is helping her.
Mhm.
That's what he thinks.
Yep.
The kicker is, he is interested in the case now because of the woman, but when he goes, he realizes that he
Mhm.
knows the maths professor, because the maths professor was his childhood friend.
Mhm. Got it.
Maths
So
professor
he.
was his childhood
Mhm.
friend. Yeah.
Mhm.
So now he starts interacting with the maths professor, and he starts interacting with the childhood friend. They reconnect over a bottle of drinks. He
Mhm.
gives him an equation to solve. The guy solves it within 6 hours. He takes it, and
Okay.
he's like, yeah,
Mhm.
this is genius guy.
Mhm.
But the next morning, when he goes to the sandwich shop, and
Mhm.
Yukawa realizes that the maths professor is in an emotional connection with the patient,
Mhm. With the
person him,
neighbor. Yeah.
with the neighbor.
Mhm.
And Yukawa almost immediately deduces
Mhm.
that Ishigami has something to do with this.
Mhm.
Yukawa got it immediately.
Mhm. The physics
And
guy, essentially,
physics guy. And
who's not in the film, essentially.
wait, hold on.
Yes. Okay.
And and Ishigami also got it that Yukawa has got.
Mhm. Got it. Mhm.
Ishigami, while explaining, because there is a brilliant sentence in the book
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
which Yukawa says, which is more difficult, creating an unsolvable equation or
Mhm.
solving one.
Mhm.
He asks the question, and Ishigami says, I'll have to think about it. That answer itself gives Yukawa the answer that he has done.
Yes. Mhm.
Now the question is, what's the evidence that he has done?
Mhm.
So while Yukawa is searching for evidence, maths guy knows, Ishigami knows that he has been found out. So maths guy is trying to ensure that evidences against the woman pile up in such a way that she is out of the suspect list immediately. So he is going to change the evidences now. So the cat and mouse games, it becomes an intellectual battle of wills between two extremely intelligent individuals. And the point of the book ultimately is, because this is a thriller novel, the point of the book ultimately is that when Ishigami is finally caught, and Yukawa asks him the question as to why did you do it? Because you did all of this to save a woman. That is the most illogical thing you could have done. A brilliant mind like yours. Yukawa is lamenting that a guy's intelligence is being wasted on such a thing, such an emotional connection. And that guy, Ishigami's point is, you don't understand. That intelligence has almost forced me to take my life because I did not have anything to show my intelligence for. So I wanted to take my life. And this woman and her daughter saved me, inadvertently saved me. So even if she doesn't reciprocate my feelings or whatever, I will always be emotionally connected to her. I will always love her. And the tragedy of the book is, Yukawa decides to tell the woman this. The woman goes to the police and the woman confesses.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
The woman confesses. And the melodrama of it all is, Ishigami goes to jail. When Ishigami learns of it, Ishigami is destroyed. Because he did so much for all of this. But the woman, because she realized that he had sacrificed himself to help her, could not take the guilt, and she also confesses. And that's the tragedy. The tragedy is threefold. The bigger tragedy is Yukawa understanding but choosing not to understand. Yukawa lamenting that he has lost his friend to something. Ishigami lamenting that I did so much to save this woman, but the woman just gave it out of guilt. Gave it up out of guilt. साले लौरे ये सब था कहाँ?
That is very true. There's nothing of this sort in the film. It's actually quite. It's like watered down, and I mean, this seems like one of those,
And
जो भी
I'll tell you what
complication
happened.
है, you
And
wrap
I'll
it
tell
up.
you what. Yeah, and I'll tell you what happened. I think what happened here. This is just my opinion. I think he decided to, because he's making a thriller. Sujoy Ghosh thought every thriller should end with a twist.
Yeah.
So I'm going to end this thing with a twist.
Yeah.
But
so there's none of this. So let me correct you. So this is spoilers for the movie. So there's none of this second body nonsense.
No, the second body nonsense is there.
Okay.
All
Okay.
of this
Okay.
is there.
Okay.
But
Okay.
if you remember the movie, the movie ends with Kareena Kapoor's character going into the jail, talking with the professor. The professor telling,
Yes.
the
He basically
professor,
sacrifices himself, and she like complies with it, right? It's like, okay, I get you, help me.
yeah, she complies with it and walks away. And then we see,
the
and
twist.
this is the this is the and this is the egregious part. He chose to put himself inside the jail because now he will be not distracted to solve an equation which is apparently will take him 15 years to solve. So now being in a jail cell will keep him away from all the distractions. And I am like, holy Jesus, mother of God. What the flying fuck did you do?
I mean, see, like, I mean, I don't want to say anything. Like, it's just that because you had, but this is like a considerable amount of change.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That is why I
mean, he also,
why I brought the Shining the comparison in, because it's like he completely changed the motivation only.
I mean, the physics professor is not there only, right? It's basically he's combined it with the investigator.
There are three characters. There are three characters who are combined into a single character, which is Karan Anand's character played by Vijay Varma. There is the investigator character who is a horn dog. He's horny all the time. Oh, the
Vijay Varma character.
Vijay Varma character is Kusanagi's character. Kusanagi was the police
The
investigator
who
whose
goes to
friend
the
is the
physics
physics.
guy, na?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So Kusanagi is the guy who is the horn dog. Kusanagi is the guy
Okay,
who
okay,
says
okay.
that Karo-san very hot hai, basically.
Okay, okay, okay.
Kusanagi is the guy.
Okay.
Kusanagi is the guy.
Mm-hmm.
The best friend guy who has a connection with the maths professor, that is the physics guy. That is also combined into Vijay
Yes,
Varma's
yes,
character.
yes.
Also, the person who kind of has a connection with the suspect, which is why the maths professor gets a bout of jealousy, apparent bout of jealousy.
Yes. Okay, that also is this.
That is a
Yes.
separate character in the book, which is also combined into
Mm-hmm.
this Vijay Varma character. My problem is you're combining three characters into one single character. Usually,
Mm-hmm.
you do that in a screenplay.
Yes.
You know, I think Dobara did it in terms of plot. They
Mm-hmm.
streamlined a couple of sections, removed a couple of sections. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because my problem is he combined these three characters. All he did was make his character extremely bland.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he
Mm-hmm.
did. It's
Mm-hmm.
only because of Vijay Varma as an actor
Yeah.
that
Mm-hmm.
the character actually shines. Because otherwise, that character has nothing.
Yeah.
That character is
I
a
mean,
composite of three completely discarded personalities.
I'll be very honest. I laughed out at loud at the introduction of both those characters, him and Jaideep Ahlawat, because they're contrasted in the types of one does
Also,
jujitsu and one does whatever fighting.
also that. My another bigger question, and this is such a huge egregious point. It's like you want to show these people as intellectual foes and the battle of wills. You took it to a literal extreme. Now you want to show them like Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty in the Guy Ritchie movies fighting in a battle of wills, but showing that literally. But you have to show that literally. So how do you do that? You then place a point that because here's how screenplay works. You have a thought, you're putting the thought, but while you're working on it, you realize that the thoughts which I'm putting, that is suddenly coming out.
Yep.
So I have to plant the seeds before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you plant the seeds before. So what you did, you had the thought in your head, that final scene, that intercutting the scene. Sujoy Ghosh is thinking himself to be some sort of a huge genius at this point. Okay, he's thinking, oh my god, they're walking down that alley. Oh my god, there is a confrontation. Yes. Oh wow, this dialogue is popping. Lovely. And then the intercutting is occurring every time a punch is occurring, Vijay Varma is giving a kick. Every time a block is occurring, he's giving a literal block. This is genius. I am such a great, I am a doctor. Okay. But when you finish that scene, he's like, wait, I haven't established only that these people know how to fight. So now what do I do? Okay.
Let's introduce them.
If he's in the police, he will be physically adept. That is fine. That is okay to understand. Good.
Yes.
A maths professor taking jujitsu and chi type to help his mind be stable. I haven't seen Indian filmmakers culturally appropriate other Indian regions. This is the first time I have seen a Bengali filmmaker literally culturally appropriate a hill station into something extrapolating Japan.
That's his homage, Amartya, to the book. That's the only reason for it. The funniest scene in the film, unintentionally funny, is the one where poor Jaideep Ahlawat, who's good in the film, I think,
Who is so good in this film.
he has to be in the center of like a road and he has to do jujitsu practice. I was like, what movie am I in? Please explain to me.
I know, right? It's like you're in a completely different movie altogether.
Yeah, like what is this? Why is he doing it there's other places to go. Go to the place where you've already been doing the jujitsu, right? Like why are you there in the center of the road?
Don't you understand? Outside air, mind open, Chika exercise. How do you, you are a Bengali filmmaker, you are culturally appropriating Sikkim, because this movie takes place in Kalimpong, with parts of it shot in Darjeeling, by the way. I have stayed in the Alice Villa Hotel, by the way, the hotel in which
the guy,
yeah. So I
Mhm.
recognize that hotel.
Mhm.
That is in Darjeeling. I have
Okay.
stayed in that hotel.
Yeah.
Never try to fool a North Bengali. Believe me, especially when it comes to hill stations. Do not. Please.
Yeah. No, but what you're saying, it makes total sense. I mean, again, a lot of this didn't strike me because of course I hadn't seen it. So it's also like, I think because you have read the novel, you're also paying more attention to other stuff that's happening, right? Because like I was also paying attention to the story because I didn't know what the story was. Well,
Yes, exactly.
I guessed what the story was somewhat after it revealed itself to be Drishyam, essentially, right? So I was like, okay, I get the sort of
But you
blueprint
get
or
the
whatever.
but you get the Drishyam elements, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
The Drishyam element is creating such an airtight alibi that
Yeah.
there is no way that you can break it.
It's
And
about
then when an investigator is threatening you to
mm,
break your alibi, you just ensure that your alibi is stronger.
yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
Drishyam did, right? Now, I know that people will say that G2 Joseph is a copy master and everything, to which I say, look at Atlee. And that is number one. Look at Atlee. Number two, nothing is actually original. Do
Mhm.
people need to understand this very well. Nothing is explicitly original. Every story
Yeah.
takes inspiration. Here's the problem. The problem is when you are announcing that you are officially an adaptation of the devotion of suspect X
Mm.
to the readers of the novel, you are already putting an expectation.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is that our fault? Sure.
Mm.
If I'm the director, I'm going to say that is your fault. And me being the critic and the audience, I'm going to say fuck you. Because I have read the book. I'm
Yeah.
always going to see with an expectation and
Yeah, yeah,
fine.
of course. Of course, of course. No, no,
And
but even
then when I see my other expectations are not met, I'll try to imagine
hmm,
as a film whether I align with your vision. Because I believe, as a person who has seen
hmm,
movies, who has been writing about movies,
hmm,
I believe that I have sufficient knowledge within
hmm,
myself to completely dissociate myself and
of course.
judge a film objectively. At least I
Yes.
believe.
Hmm.
Even if I judge a film objectively, and even if I believe that your movie is dog shit, I'm sorry.
Okay,
It
so
is.
I'll slightly push back against it. I don't think it's dog shit. Like to me, it was like decently paced and like it was decently put
It wasn't
together.
decently placed.
Was it not?
The editing is jarring as hell.
I
I'm
didn't
going
mind the editing, to be very honest. And I'm generally
the first 5 minutes really pushed me off, and that's not
okay.
even adaptation. The first 5 minutes, I'm like, why?
First five
Itna
minutes were
jald.
what? I forgot.
The first 5 minutes were him imagining him trying to
Ah, yes,
destroy.
yes, yes. The first 5 minutes, yes, I understand. But like otherwise, I thought there were sequences which, like, see, my expectations for editing have been lowered significantly. Okay, so
Yeah,
I went in and I enjoy his sometimes his quick cutting. I think actually does provide momentum. That is something he uses
no,
since
no,
Kahani, right?
no,
Uh,
no. But you know what my main issue was. My main issue
mm,
was that, and this is I will put squarely the blame on myself. Okay,
mm,
the hill station bit of it is
mm.
a place which many Indian filmmakers are lazily putting a lot of their thriller movie setting based on because, and I'm going to be
Automatic
completely
atmospherics.
automatic atmospherics. Yes,
Yeah. This
because
is
we are
trademark, huh?
lazy. Yeah, because
Copyright.
yeah, copyright.
Yes.
Yeah, because we are lazy people and we want a lot of stuff
Yeah.
कि जितना कम प्रोडक्शन डिजाइन यूज कर सके
Mm-hmm.
इसलिए हिल स्टेशन में सेट कर दो ऑटोमेटिक एटमोसफेयर हो जाएगा
कोहरा
थोड़ा
डाल दो
फॉग
बस
फॉग
इसे फॉग
हाँ
कर दो
थोड़ा फॉग फॉग डाल दो विजुअल थोड़ा कम कर दो कुछ भी हो इतना ही कम कर दो कि लाइट बल्ब भी नहीं है कुछ दिख नहीं रहा है that's how it goes most of the
Yeah, yeah.
yeah but it's like but and that is why but when you're putting it in a hill station now because
Hmm.
when I also think that is because Malayalam movies and a lot of
Hmm.
other movies have shown, and
Hmm.
even some web series which have been put in hill stations, they have shown that usually when you're putting something in a foggy environment, I think it automatically gives off an aura that things are sinister. So
Hmm.
maybe just take it just a tad bit slow.
Hmm.
Maybe
Oh
just take it
yes,
a tad
fair
bit
enough.
sinister.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
I thought the editing of the movie and the atmosphere which the movie is trying to show, there is an odd disconnect.
Contradiction.
Yeah,
I
there is an
understand
odd
what you meant.
contradiction. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
which really pissed me off. I'm like, इतना जल्दी क्या है? You're putting your movie in a hill station. Just go slow, ना? क्या है?
Yeah.
You're making a streaming movie. You
I mean, see
length का
again. No,
length
but
का तो कोई issue नहीं है. तुम लोगों
true,
को
true,
movie बनाने में तो कोई length का issue नहीं है. Streaming
true.
movie तो है.
True. I mean, again, I think one of the first things I told you was my lens only for viewing this. Like, I never thought of this as like a series. This is probably a bigger insult. I never thought of this as a serious movie. Like,
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
thought of it like as a airport trashy,
yeah.
like
Airport
thriller.
trashy
No,
novel. Yeah.
which is why I like all these things about authenticity and all this like cutting ko thoda slow kar lo. I was like, इसमें क्या है? Like, this is like
it's
one of
like
those
no, but it's
background
like
noise things.
yeah. It's like if you're
I
putting
needed to. I wanted to be the positive guy, but I've essentially said that this
yeah.
is something you put it as a background noise. But okay.
Yeah. It's like if you're adapting, say, I'm going to be so sorry, Joe Nesbo fans, don't kill me. It's like if you're adapting, say, The Snowman or say any David Balducci
The
novel or
Snowman is mandatory viewing, by the way, for any cinephile. It is genuinely bafflingly made.
it is
You
baffling.
have to watch it just to see what it is. But
It's a
yes.
bad movie. Let's be very clear. It's
No, it's a
extremely
terrible movie, but it's worth watching.
it's
Definitely.
worth watching to see what not to do. My point being that
Yes.
for Joe Nesbo fans and all of them, you need to understand those books are being written also in a way.
Hmm.
And by the way, airport novels, which we are disregarding and disparagingly calling, writing those are also works of
Oh,
art.
of course, of course. What, like, I mean, but there are people who, like, take those and, like, make them into really, well, they don't need to be complex, but even think about something like Gone Girl is a page turner only. Like, it's like it's kind of trashy, I feel, at some
Yeah.
points. Like,
Yeah.
So,
You are taking Gone Girl and everything. My point being, you are thinking this Jaane Jaan as a airport trashy novel.
yeah.
Fine, Jaane Jaan is an airport trashy novel. Jaane Jaan is its source material isn't.
Exactly.
You
That's what I think we
you
discussed
heard
also, right?
you heard all my description of the source material, right?
No, it's devastating, right? In
It's
in the way you're saying.
devastating.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
This
devastating.
isn't devastating, by the way. This is
I'm
nothing to.
I'm going to be honest with you. When I had read the book, I'm serious. I think Higashino is one of
Hmm.
the few writers who can create antagonists so compelling. You
Hmm.
actually want them to get away from it.
Hmm.
You actually want
Hmm.
them to get away with the murder.
Hmm.
He writes those antagonists as so compelling and so moving. Devotion
Hmm.
of suspected, especially because Ishigami is such a moving character.
Hmm.
You don't even you want him to get away with the murder.
I actually think this is where this is where I think the film for me at least falls apart, is essentially because I was seeing it as that trashy whatever thingy, and it's down to the editing also. Like, I think it's like just like moving fastly because it needs to sort of
Yes.
get into the plot points and all. This is where I think the whole emotional thing that even was supposed to come at the end with the Jaideep Ahlawat character kind of just dissipates for me. It's like you've not allowed him to stick to that emotion and express it. I'm like, you need to let him breathe. He's a good enough actor to command the screen, right? So
And it's also like see, I already told you Vijay Varma's the character which is a
yes.
combination of three characters and all.
Mm.
It's like I anyway don't buy their friendship.
Yes.
Jaideep Ahlawat ka character and Vijay Varma ka character. I
Mm-hmm.
anyway did not buy their friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Let alone the fact that Vijay Varma ka character is smart enough to actually figure any of this shit out.
Yeah.
Let alone that fact.
Mm-hmm.
I bought that he's a horny motherfucker who wants to, bang
Yeah.
my. I bought that.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's like, when Jaideep Ahlawat is explaining the P is equal to NP problem,
Oh yes.
I'm like, ew.
Yeah. Yeah. It is very very like this is.
Ew. And I'm like, this is the telling and not showing a problem. Because
Mm-hmm.
you are telling me that the maths professor is a genius,
Yeah.
but you're not showing me anything to prove. Showing me anything to prove that he's actually a genius. All you're showing me is he's intelligent. And how you're showing me he's intelligent, lest other people come at me with stuff. The only intelligence factor is him having that coin ka match with a kid in which he's
Yes. Yes. Yes.
yes. So
Yes.
what are you? Again, Mr. Sujoy Ghosh, what are you trying to show here? Please elaborate this to me. Sleight of hand? What is this sleight of hand? Like, oh look, I'm going to change. How do I put this? I'm going to change your perspective only. The problem is you did not change my perspective at all, man. You
No,
did
I
not.
agree. I mean, I think one of the things I noted and now I've forgotten essentially is I was like, for a film that was consistently talking about, अगर आप ढंग से
Emotion versus
देखते
logic.
नहीं अगर आप ढंग
अगर
से
आप ढंग
देखते
से
तो
देखते तो सामने ही
I'm like,
मिलता.
what an odd movie to say it, which like consistently verbalizes its own logic and all that.
अगर आप ढंग से देखते तो सामने ही होता. हाँ, थोड़ा लाइट बल्ब लगा दो, ढंग से देख पाते ना. सिनेमेटोग्राफी का तो माँ बाप तो कुछ नहीं है. Which is sad by the way because it is shot by Avik Mukhopadhyay who
He's
did the
shot a lot of
cinematography
good.
for Sardar Udham. He did the cinematography for Sardar.
Has he
And
shot even
like,
like the other previous Sujoy Ghosh films or no?
I don't remember.
Okay.
And it's like, what a waste. What an absolute waste. And to people who are saying that is Kalimpong weather, again, don't teach a North Bengal kid what is Kalimpong weather and Darjeeling weather, I'll smack you. Number two, yes, that is Kalimpong weather, but Kalimpong and Darjeeling hill station का visibility थोड़ा कम होता है, but that is not a goddamn excuse.
No, it's dark. It's dark.
So
It's
dark.
like sludgy.
It's sludgy.
It looks sludgy. Yeah.
It is
But
very sludgy, and that is like an unforgivable offense, especially when you have so many shots outdoors of people barking and everything.
Yes. It's a lot of it's set exterior, I think.
Yes.
But so no, I'll move on to the other question because it's sort of, well, I don't know if you'll have any answers for this, but the next question is, who do you think stood out in Jaane Jaan?
Who do I think stood out in Jaane Jaan? I think Karan Anand's character, like Vijay Varma's character, I even wrote this in my review as one of the few positives. I think Vijay Varma's Karan Anand's character, if you look at him in a vacuum, he's a very interesting character in which you can build a franchise upon.
Yeah. He's a fun character. I had fun with,
He's a fun character. You can build a franchise upon him. He has got some definite quirks. He's always hungry.
Yeah.
And that Momo ka joke actually works if you look at it in a vacuum. It's very fun.
Yes. Yeah. Because he keeps on saying hot to Kareena Kapoor and then she like gives him whatever, the momos which are hot in like in a different sense. Which I was like, okay, that's a clever gag. Like I'm like, I want
that's a nice
gags.
Gag.
Yeah.
That's a nice gag.
Yeah.
And he's physically also very believable as a guy who can, throw down and everything. So, if you take that character and if you actually put him in any other mystery film and give a competent director to direct him, like say Sriram Raghavan or even say Vishal Bharat.
Sriram Raghavan's not like these are not competent. These are great directors.
I mean, relatively.
Sujoy Ghosh made a good film, a great film, I think.
One.
In Kahani. Yes.
One.
Okay. One.
On which he's driving the carbon monoxide fumes off for the last 20 years.
That might be very true. But yes.
Yes. So it's like if I see Karan Anand's character, but you take the character and you make him into a separate franchise directed by different directors, you know what, I won't mind at all. Make it a Netflix movie only, na? But make it like that. And if Sujoy Ghosh has got a problem with it, bhai, you take an executive producer credit, you will get money only. Problem क्या है? Character created by you. क्योंकि ये तो Keigo Higashino का तो character नहीं है, ये तुम्हारा character है. So take the money. मुझे कोई problem नहीं है, मुझे पैसे नहीं मिल रहे, मुझे कोई problem नहीं है ना, तो तुम ले लो.
Yes.
क्योंकि
I think fair enough.
क्योंकि अगर तुम बना रहे हो ना इसका sequel या कुछ, कोई नहीं तुम्हारा. I'm sorry.
Okay, fair enough.
I do not try to be as harsh to filmmakers and creators, even when I'm writing this stuff. Believe me, when I write this stuff, I always try to think that am I being too snarky or am I sounding too angry? I genuinely believe if you read my review, I sounded very angry in the review. I genuinely think so. But even then, I did not, openly bash the director or any of it. I
think it's probably because you saw the interview, Amartya, that you were more annoyed.
I think so, yeah. Because when I saw the interview, I saw a guy who has read graphic novels, read books, has enough intelligence to understand which is a good book and which isn't, and then misses the point completely. And that really pissed me off. Why did you miss the point completely? So that's a legitimate choice. So
Yeah.
you missing the point completely is because you thought you were intelligent enough to construct a movie which is completely different, and then put all of this in the service of a twist. A
Yeah.
twist which is also half baked by them.
It is. Yeah.
It is very half baked. It's like he's such a devotee of maths that he's going to solve unsolvable equations for 10 to 15 years. That emotional connect, that is the reason why he would try to kill himself. I understand that I get, that I completely buy. Him going to solve a 15-year-old equation, and that is why him choosing to stay in jail. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry.
No,
Even if
I feel that's
if
I.
I take the Higashino out of the equation, even if I take the Higashino out, that is just dumb.
No, but I feel it's only like half of the motivation. Half of the motivation is that still the whole maintaining the
Sacrificial.
connection.
Yeah,
The
sacrificial.
sacrificial.
Yeah, you're right. Half
Mm.
of the motivation is the sacrificial connection. And
Mm.
if somebody squints their eyes and says that he was lying, he was going to be the martyr and everything, that is dumber. Why?
Decision to not leave, Amartya.
Decision to not leave. Why? Why would you do that? क्या है? लड़की तो तुम्हारे पीछे नहीं आ रही भाई, क्यों कर रहे हो?
It's a good, yeah, I agree. नहीं करना चाहिए ऐसा.
नहीं
बिल्कुल.
करना चाहिए, क्या है, क्या फायदा? And it's like,
Do jujitsu, no.
you know the
उसमें
other
वैसे भी you're interested.
the other problem is that because he combined those three characters, what happens? The combination of the three characters gives a problem which is sounding extremely cringy. That is, in the final interrogation scene, when he's being questioned, and when he tries to show that he's insane.
Yeah.
That's what he's essentially doing, right? He's trying to show that he's insane so that he can convince the
There
police
also is
officer.
cross-cutting, right? I think quite a bit.
Yeah. There also is cross-cutting.
That's the fighting scene, or no?
No,
Is it something? No.
that is the
That's
last
before.
scene in which
Okay.
in which police officers are revealing that he's talking stuff and everything. Again, putting evidences more and more to show that the woman is innocent. That's what he's doing.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
So those stuff I understand. The problem he did is he combined Vijay Varma character from three characters, right? So he also combined the other guy with whom the divorcee might have had a relationship with. Might have had, apparently. So now when Jaideep Ahlawat character is saying that he did it all because he's a jealous lover, and then the investigator says that Naru, tu galat soch raha hai, hamare beech mein kuch nahi tha, and I'm like, you're a police investigator. Why are you saying that? You're a police investigator. What is this? If you say that to an official police investigation, if you say that stuff, you are in grounds for recusing yourself from investigating on this case because you have a personal connection. You shouldn't be allowed to investigate this case. लेकिन ये तो इंडिया है, यहाँ पर तो सब कुछ चलता है. Cheap नौटंकी है लोग.
Anyways, all of this was not in Kahani, by the way, because I remember Kahani still pretty well. Because I thought a lot of the blueprint of this actually sort of, the Vijay Varma character kind of reminded me of
Parambrato's character.
No, not Parambrato. Nawaz's character actually, weirdly enough.
Khan.
Yes, Khan's character in that. There's no Parambrato in this, I think. I mean, I guess to some extent this Naru is, but whatever. Also, Kareena Kapoor and Vidya Balan are operating on different planes, and I think it's different roles also. Of course. Yeah.
I genuinely think Kareena Kapoor, and this is me being completely honest, I think out of the commercial movie space of actresses who came from star families, I genuinely think Kareena Kapoor is one of the better ones who has delivered some of the best performances. Genuinely. See her in Omkara, see her in Chameli. She is genuinely one of the very good actresses we have in our generation. That being said, I think she was overacting in some instances, especially with her kid, especially when showing off a panic mode, and especially in all.
Yes, I agree.
I
I
think
mean,
she was
even
over.
the child relationship needed to be much stronger also. Like that's your, if
Yes,
that's your core thing you're going for, you need more moments in that also, just to make it seem more authentic, believable, whatever. Again, I think all this might come down to the cutting itself, right? Because like I think what you're
exactly.
mentioning, again, for
It
me,
is
if
so
this is like a,
fast. It is so
if
fast.
Hmm,
It's like your complaint, right? You are
hmm,
taking a novel, you are taking complicated novel and then fast cutting it to a
yeah,
trashy airport novel. That's
yeah,
literally what
yeah,
you did.
hmm, yeah. No, but exactly. So that's, I think, because I didn't know about the classiness of the novel, I
Hmm.
sort of was like, oh, this is trashy. And then when it becomes tries to be this sort of emotional thing, I was like, I didn't
Yes,
buy
you
it
are
at
like,
all.
yeah,
Oh,
you are like, where did this come from?
yeah, yeah.
Which is again completely legitimate a complaint.
Hmm. Yeah. I was like, what is this?
You understand my complaint, right?
Yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah.
My complaint is this was always supposed to be there. Where was it?
Yeah,
That
where
was
was
my
it?
complaint.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Where was
No,
it?
no, true, true. Last question I'll ask Amartya, because I know the answer of it very easily from your end. So, which
Yeah. Okay.
adaptation of Suspect X do you prefer?
Okay. So, um, number one is again, this is me being the person who is again arguing that uh, faithful adaptations
Hmm.
also work, deviated adaptations also work. All of it depends on the filmmaker who is
Sujoy
helming.
Ghosh made Badla, right? I didn't mind Badla, even
I
though it was
didn't mind Badla as
fairly
well.
scene to scene copy
Yeah,
or
yeah, I
whatever
didn't
of
mind Badla as
plastering
well.
of that. Yeah.
I didn't mind Badla as well. I think Badla was one of his better made stuff,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's better than Kahani 2 at least. So
I don't mind Kahani. But anyways, go ahead. Yes.
that wasn't great. Just
Hmm.
yeah.
Uh,
Anyway, so
hmm.
let's having said that faithfully adaptations and deviated adaptations, all of it work. All of it depends on the hand of the director who is helming it.
Hmm.
Having said that, the 2008 movie Suspect X,
Hmm.
that movie I believe is the best adaptation of
This is
devotional
Japanese or
concept.
South Korean?
This is the South Korean adaptation. This is
Okay.
the Japanese adaptation. I'm sorry. This is
Okay.
the Japanese
Okay.
adaptation.
Hmm.
Now, here's the thing. People will say, because
Hmm.
this is true, that it is a spin-off of a television show featuring the
Hmm.
same character. It has elements of the TV show. It has the same characters of the TV show.
Hmm.
My point being, uh, you can watch the movie anytime you want.
Hmm.
This movie is adapted so well. It works perfectly as a standalone.
Sure.
It
Got
works
it.
perfect.
Hmm.
Number one, it works perfectly as a standalone. Number
Hmm.
two, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think
Hmm.
Higashino was involved in the screenplay writing of this movie. I think.
I think so also. Wait, let me check. But I
I
think it
think
was. Yeah. Yeah.
Higashino was involved. I think he was the original writer or something.
Yeah.
Higashino was involved in the screenplay writing. So
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. 2008. Uh, it's not written on IMDb, but I'm not sure how. Serial story it's written. So maybe it was.
maybe it was, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and also, here's another thing.
Hmm.
Even if we say that it's a faithful adaptation, there are lots of changes in the movie as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
Primarily, there is a very key change is that so when the TV show had aired,
Hmm.
this is just a brief history. When the TV show had aired, the
Hmm.
makers of the TV show wanted a younger female, surrogate
Hmm.
Watson, Yukawa's homes. So they
Hmm.
created a separate character called Utsumi,
Hmm.
who who would follow him around and help him solve the cases.
Hmm.
So Utsumi was actually a breakout character from the TV show because she was
Sure.
intelligent and yet she was a kid friendly types of character.
Hmm.
So that's how it moved.
Hmm.
In the movie, because it is a spin-off of the show, Utsumi took the role of the Kusanagi character in being his partner.
Okay. Got it. Hmm.
What the movie cleverly did is
Hmm.
they took Utsumi's character and made her
Hmm.
Yukawa's emotional conscience. Yukawa is the
Sure.
physics professor.
Hmm.
So when Yukawa is emotionally battling and emotionally conflicted, Utsumi's character is the one who is trying to keep his emotional point in check.
Sure. Got
So
it.
she has a vital role into play in this
Hmm.
movie also. Also, by the way, another thing is very important. Most of these TV to film adaptations, when TV
Hmm.
shows get adapted into films, when the filmmakers are doing that, they can't get away from their TV trappings, right? So
Hmm.
most of these movies don't look as cinematic as they should.
Hmm.
I will say this, and this is very important. I think this movie, while it looks like a television show ka adaptation, because of the camera used and everything, I think the movie actually does fairly well in being a very cinematic experience,
Sure.
especially in how it uses mise en scène.
Mm-hmm.
It uses the scene and the structure so well. Like, there is a scene in the lab in which Utsumika character is standing on one end of the lab and Yukawa is sitting on the other end of the lab. Everywhere is shrouded in darkness. And Utsumi is saying, Professor Yukawa, are you there? And the camera is shot in a master mode in which you can see both ends of there.
Sure.
There's the bridge, that entire bridge. And I'm like,
Yep.
oh my god, visual storytelling.
What is this?
What is this? What am I watching? Oh my god, visual
nowadays
storytelling.
it's more like, oh, they're holding a shot. I'm like,
Yeah,
ye
yeah.
kaise ho gaya? I'm like,
Oh my god,
miracle. This
oh
is
my
the
god,
whole.
visual storytelling. She's going to cross the bridge and she's going to connect. Oh my god. I'm like, wow, I don't see this stuff nowadays. Holy crap.
The perils or the pitfalls of content filmmaking, I suppose you can say.
I suppose, yes.
Yeah. Or ADHD generation, just in
Or
general.
ADHD, which
Yeah.
again, I think the fast cutting is also because Sujoy Ghosh, and I don't think it's a Sujoy Ghosh fault. I think it's a filmmaker itself fault, because I think filmmakers think that streaming services ka films jo hai, that is automatically designed so
I
that
mean,
people with
yeah.
shorter attention spans could fast forward or increase the speed of the
This is apart from like whatever your prestige, high end, whatever. Martin
Exactly.
Scorsese and like Alfonso Cuarón won't do this because
Yeah,
they're
Martin
like
Scorsese is definitely not going to do this.
I
Killers
mean,
of the Flower
Cuarón though
Moon
is double only. He doubled down on the slower takes. In fact, in
is
Roma. So
in
yes,
Roma, which by
yeah.
the way, I love that movie. And
Oh, I also do. Yeah.
And Killers of the Flower Moon to 3.5 घंटे long movie hai. So it's like cool man.
Yes, we will
कुछ नहीं कह
we will be
सकते.
discussing that soon.
Yes.
Hopefully to better and adaptation. में अगर आपने, I think you've read it, right?
I have read half of it. I will read the other half.
So Amartya will bring that perspective 100%. I am not a reader, so I am reading Roald Dahl's short stories. That's where I am at for the Wes Anderson shorts. And I can attest to you that Roald Dahl is a bloody dark writer. For a children's author, one of the shorts that's going to release is about childhood bullying pushed to the extreme. I was like, is this Funny Games by Michael Haneke in like written form?
Then again, even Stephen King was a very exaggerated writer to the extent that bullying in his stories is like literally straight up assault and murder.
No, in this I was like, but I think Roald Dahl's demographic is slightly younger than Stephen King. Like, I was like, children are going to read this. I'm like, they're going to get a shock. I mean, a correct shock in a sense that they get to know how the world is, but like, it's a pretty gut punch of a thing. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm looking forward to the Wes Anderson adaptation of it.
I sincerely hope he doesn't put his own flourishes into it.
In this one, I think he'll need to just to to blunt some of the violence. I'm like,
Violence,
yeah, but it'll be interesting. But I think we should end the episode, I think, and on this note, because I've kind of just preempted what our next episode
our
is going to
future
be.
Discussion will be on. Yes.
Yeah.
And honestly, thank you for giving me a platform to vent. I think I've vented enough.
Okay.
I think I want to forget this movie now. Thank you.
Let's see if you are able to by the end of the year.
Yes, I think I will be.
You'll find enough other stuff.
I find enough other stuff. Yeah. Like, hilariously, this is not the worst movie of the year.
What is?
Adipurush.
Well, that's your own fault for watching it. So yes, this is basically the worst, right? Considering Adipurush, you knew is a dumpster fire, sort of like that.
इतना भी नहीं सोचा था.
Really, after hearing from everyone that you also watched it when it came on Netflix, you didn't go and
watch it. Yeah. When I saw it, I had the same reaction as Vijay Raja's character in Delhi Belly.
Oh, yes. I don't say it. I will put the
yes. Okay. I had the same reaction. Yes. So I was like, why?
Yeah. Why?
And
why.
and I wasn't even sick. I mean, I had a good excuse for watching Avatar Way of Water because I was completely sick and bedridden. So I watched 3 hours. I still like that movie fine. I'm just saying that movie is long.
That movie is a wash. Let's just end on that.
Adipurush has no excuse. Another
Yes,
example of an
yes.
adaptation that shouldn't
Oh
exist.
God, of course. Please, no. Yeah. But
That
yes,
shouldn't
that's
exist.
yeah, I know, I know.
And again, my thesis still stands. Look at the filmmaker. Vision matters.
Of course it does. That's the whole thing. That is
That's the whole.
filmmaking.
Yes.
But yes, that is it
That
for
is
today.
also, yes, that is also an example of me telling to myself vision matters. So the next time you watch an adaptation, look at the filmmaker and then avoid, which I should have
That's gonna
done in case of
happen.
Jaane Jaan. In case of
But you
Jaane Jaan,
took
I
the
did not.
review, so you went in deep or into the deep end of it. So yes.
Yes.
Well, almost everything's an adaptation nowadays, I feel. So like it's like how do you even keep up with
Yeah.
what is not, right? So
Right.
anyways, but we will be discussing this. We'll be on a similar topic when it comes to Wes Anderson next whenever we record it. At least I'll have the context for once. Actually, I'm reading the short stories, but we'll also be discussing Asteroid City, which we didn't get to talk about when it released,
Yes.
and I think
Which
we
again,
have
surprisingly, I love that movie for some reason. I really do. I don't know
to
why.
express it. I mean, I'm due my rewatch. I liked it quite a bit. I'm a fan of whatever Wes Anderson does in general. So, but yeah, we'll have a new guest. We have Amartya, and we maybe have Aryan also.
Maybe.
So
इतना
maybe.
busy बंदा है आजकल क्या हो
Yeah,
सकता
yeah, but we'll organize, but we will be doing that episode very soon. It'll be out as soon as the shorts are out, or like one
Yeah,
day after the shorts are out. So
one day
yes,
after the short
do
sale.
look forward to it. And yes, thank you so much for listening to this episode, which was not planned. But I think we should do like impromptu, which is why I want to do the live stream thingy, because I think some of these movies would actually benefit impromptus and
Yes,
my
exactly.
not my editing later, but this won't require editing, but like still I don't want to dwell on it as such. In any case, this is done. I think I mentioned my main thing about the Momo joke, which is the good thing about the film. But yes, thank you so much. You can follow Amartya on Instagram at Amartya25.
Yes.
You can follow me on Terminal Cinema if you want to, and you can follow Quid also on queenisdead.film podcast, which I am handling from now on. So it will be a little bit more active, less dead. But yes, thank you so much for listening, and khatam.